Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Hangman's Chair, A Loner, out February 11th on Nuclear Blast. This album has 9 tracks, 52 minutes in length, and this is the band's 6th full-length studio album. They are a French gothic doom metal band. As far as the design of this record goes, I felt like this is an album that gives you a path. What that path is going to be like, how clear is that path, I'm not quite sure. There's a little bit of chaos within the overall design of this album that doesn't allow you to understand exactly where you're heading or how you're going to get there. For example, a song like Pariah and the Plague, I felt like it came a little bit too deep into the track listing. A little bit earlier would give a clear-cut divide of where you are within this record so that you could understand the beginning, middle, and end, because the beginning and end is clear-cut. The song that starts the album and the song that finishes the record are the perfect bookends to enclose a little bit of the volatility that the structure offers to this album. Once you move into the soundscape, you have to break down the experience into the quality of the sound and the atmosphere that sound creates. When you talk about the quality, you have to talk about the consistency. And this is not to say that every single song sounds or feels the same, but the quality and execution and what comes into the forefront stays very consistent from start to finish. This is a record that every song feels like it has a big sound to it, that it has a lot of volume, and every track allows you to understand exactly all the elements that went into making it. You can hear the drums, you can hear the bass, you can hear the guitars. They're all coming in different lanes with different purposes, with different identities, but they all mixed in well with one another in order to create that much larger picture, that much larger sound that this album holds. Now, when it comes into the atmosphere, I thought it was interesting that this is an album where you can talk about a diverse atmospheric approach, but you also can talk about a consistent atmospheric approach. Not every song feels or gives you the same sensation or the same vibe. And that's not a bad thing, but you want almost a sense of growth from start to finish so that you can take some of the things from the first track and move it into the second, then take it from the second, move it into the third, and so forth and so forth. So as you're navigating through this album, you're feeling the growth and you're feeling like you're taking elements with yourself in that journey that allow you to understand exactly what the record is all about. You understand how you feel towards it when you reach that last track. And that's not really the case with this record. It's an album that sometimes, due to its a little bit chaotic structure and due to its undefined atmosphere, you feel like you're taking 2 step backs in order to take a step forward. This obviously has an impact in the playability, and it has an impact in how engaging the overall record is going to be with the listener. Now, within the sound, we have to talk about the drums, bass, and guitars. These are the 3 main core elements, obviously, and they all play different roles. I really like the bass tone on this record. I like how much it pops in the mix, and I love how it grounds the record and how it helps define a little bit of what these songs are all about, and it has a positive impact, a very positive impact on how you feel the atmosphere of each and every single song. It has a clear-cut impact in the vibe, and it transports you into a much different place every time it comes into the forefront. It really catapults the experience for the listener, and it becomes a very key element throughout the entire record. I really enjoy the bass work. I really enjoy the sound, the tone, and the delivery. Now, the drums don't have a one-size-fits-all approach, but they do have a balanced style in terms of how they're going to ground this album, how they're going to give it some consistency, and a lot of times that big volume that the record has, it's really due to how impactful the drum sound becomes. Not overpowering, not overshadowing, just sitting in the background, creating the foundation for the entire record. And that is exactly what you would want from the drums on an album that has this sound, that has this experience. Now, the guitar style and approach, tone, delivery, it's really phenomenal. It's definitely one of the highlights of the record. I gravitated most of the time to what the guitars were doing, either on the melodic side or with a more melancholic approach, sometimes mixing both, adding melody and melancholy as one, and really navigating this record with a methodic pace, but always allowing you to stay connected with it, almost hold on to it like it's holding your hand and it's helping you understand which steps you have to take in order to get through each and every single song. The guitar sound is phenomenal. The vocals on this album are super consistent and balanced. What you get in the first track is what you're going to get all the way through. But I felt like the vocals played an important role, but not a defining role in how you're going to perceive this record. You're going to get more out of the sound of the album than you're going to get out of the vocals. But the vocals also play a role as far as the atmosphere is concerned, because while the tone may not change, while the delivery may not change, the atmosphere, the vibe, the emotions that you're going to get out of them have a slight change from track to track. And some songs I felt like they were more connected with the lyrics, more connected with the song, and those tracks become a little bit better because they feel more together as one. There's some songs where there's a little bit of a disconnect between the emotions that the song portrays and the emotions that you actually getting in the vocals, and that hurts the tracks ever so slightly because you feel a little bit lost between what's happening from a sound perspective and what's happening from a vocal perspective. Overall, this album is very ambiguous. I'm not quite sure what it's trying to achieve musically, vocally, and from an overall perspective. And because I'm not really sure what the album is trying to achieve, it's hard for me to really connect with it. I like it, but I'm not always enjoying my experience as I navigated through each and every single song. Sometimes I find a spot where I'm really comfortable in, where I feel like this is exactly where I wanted to be, but that spot doesn't stay consistent. It starts to change, it starts to move, it starts to morph, and it starts to go in a direction that I'm not quite sure exactly what it is. So that sense of being an ambiguous record in terms of what wants to deliver, in terms of what wants to give, really hurts the overall experience for the listener, at least from my perspective, and it didn't allow me to connect fully with the album. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, there are 3 tracks that the moment I went through this record immediately popped as perhaps the more complete songs in terms of what you get from sound, vocals, and overall atmosphere. And I want to start off with Who Wants to Die Old. I mean, if there's a song that musically represents the title of the track itself, this is it, because this is a song that feels like you're moving towards that death, that impending doom is in front of you, and you move so slowly that you're almost dying as you're moving towards it. You're dying with every single passing second that death approaches. Really interesting aspect, really interesting dynamic. It starts off very sinister. There's a little bit of a dark vibe, a dark cloud surrounding this song throughout. The opening works well because it stays and it becomes part of the DNA of the spinal cord of what the entire song is going to be all about. The vocals on this track help define the path that you're taking, and that's important because sound-wise, there is a sense of movement. It's a song that is heavy, that has a big volume, it has a methodic approach, but it also has a little bit of sense of dynamic mechanisms. While not being clear and in terms of not being abrupt, you still see the movement that is happening musically throughout this track. So the vocals help you guide that experience, they help take you to where you need to go, and then having some melodic undertones allow the track to feel more together, to feel as one, bringing all of these different pieces together, making the movement between them seamless, allowing the track to feel complete. Next you have Storm Resounds. The vocals feel very connected to the emotion of the track, very connected to the lyrics, very connected to the sound, and then obviously to the atmosphere that the song puts forward. Musically, you feel some movement within this song. There is movement, there is a sense of growth. It's a track that, while not volatile, while not dynamic, while not changing too much, you still see this gradual movement upwards. It's not dynamic in terms of getting there really fast because it's still moving slowly, but you still feel like there's something being added with every passing second. The song itself starts to get bigger and bigger as you move along. It's an important element for a track like this because it makes the song feel robust by the time you reach the end of it, and it feels like it started at a very thin starting point. So that helps the movement, that helps the listener stay connected with it. It's a song that's interesting in terms of how it moves, because it moves musically, but it also moves vocally, and that's why I said that vocals stay very connected throughout the entire track. So I really like the construction, I like the approach, and I like the sense of growth that this track offers. Last but not least, Second Wind. This is a doom goth ballad. I don't think there's any other way to describe the way this track comes across. I don't think there's any other way to put it together. It has great sound, it has great atmosphere, and it has a great construction. It gives you an experience, and this song is all about that experience. It's about what you're going to take from it, it's about how you navigate through it. It's not always clear exactly how you're going to define that experience. It's not always clear how you're going to understand it as a listener, but the fact that you try to define it, the fact that you try to get to the bottom of it is what makes this song so interesting, because it has all the attributes of a ballad in terms of sound, in terms of atmosphere, in terms of construction. So the fact that it has a sense of togetherness from that perspective makes the journey, or makes you wanting to find out more about this song, a key point and a selling point on how this track sounds, on how this track comes across. Really interesting song. this is it. This is Hangman's Chair, A Loner, out February 11th on Nuclear Blast. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.